understand. Must be a powerful, powerful woman. Not an ordinary, not a common kind of birth. So anyway, Bharat Maharaj was a very great king. After Dushmanta left the world, Bharat became the king, the emperor. So can you tell me some of the wonderful activities performed by Bharat Maharaj? Anybody know something? Tell me some of the activities he did. Yes?
Maharaj, he would play with tigers or lions when he was small.
Yeah, when he was a small boy, small child,
Yeah.
he could play with the lions, yes? Pull them around and wrestle with them. Anything else? He performed wonderful...
Maharaj, it also says that he had great opulence and also his soldiers were unconquerable. So he was a very powerful king.
Yes, who did he conquer? Where did he go? Tell me some of his exploits.
He conquered the Kiratas, the Kunas, the Yavanas, Paundras,
Yes.
Dasas, and he also saved many of the women who were held captives by the demigods, in fact, and the demons in places like the Satara. So he saved many of them, the wives and daughters who were brought of the demigods who were brought over there by the Asuras.
Yes, the ladies, the wives and the daughters of the demigods were captured by the demons and taken to the lower planets, Rasatala. And he went and rescued them and brought them back to the heavenly planets. And why did he conquer the Pulindas and the Kiritas and the Hundaras? And why did he conquer these people?
Because they were opposed to the Vedic principles.
Yes.
Of the Brahmin culture.
Right. They were not following the Vedic principles. All right. Anything else about him? What else did he do?
Sacrifice, Maharaj, Hare Krishna, did sacrifice.
What kind of sacrifice?
Matra, what, forget Matra, what, something, so far, he donated a chariot, 14 lakhs of cows, like that. Sacrifice.
14 lakh elephants, and he donated cows to thousands of brahmanas, and each brahmana got more than 10,000 cows each.
Yes, he just gave charity like that, eh? Huge numbers of cows. And what about the elephants? The thousands of elephants with white tusks?
And with lots of ornaments.
Yeah, covered it fully in gold ornaments, right? So what was he doing? Was it charity again? He was giving charity? Or it was some sacrifice?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it was sort of a sacrifice, Maharaj, Mashnar, something of that name. And he also ruled for 27,000 years.
For 27,000 years he was what?
He was the king, Maharaj, he ruled.
He was ruling,
yeah,
for some 27,000 years.
And that is when, Maharaj, you told us that it must be Satyuga, because the life only in that yuga was about 1 lakh years. Because in Treta it was just 10,000, and he fulfilled the earth, the inhabitants of the earth, and even the Svargaloka. That's what you told Maharaj yesterday.
Okay, yes.
So the elephants he gave in the sacrifice, which is called as Mashnara, or a place called Mashnara, something like that, is mentioned in the Bhagavatam.
Okay, yes, he performed great sacrifices. It's the duty of the king to do these things. Common people, of course, cannot do these things, but the king will do these, perform great sacrifices. So he was a very great king, very powerful, that he could rule for 27,000 years. Okay, and then what about his son? Did he have children? Was he in family life?
We heard that his 3 wives, they killed the children because the children did not look like Bharat Maharaj. So we had a discussion on how that could happen. And then after that he prayed and the Maruts gave him a child.
And the child was named what?
Bharatwaj.
Bharadraj, right, Bharadraj. So, is it proper understanding then? Should we think that if somebody is born in an aristocratic high-class family, that they must have been maybe a demigod or something in their previous life?
Yes, Maharaj, they have fallen from the heavenly planet.
We should think like that, huh? That if somebody, you're born in a high-class family with, a lot of wealth and culture and everything, it means in your previous life, probably you were from the higher planets?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, according to this context, yes. But in the Bhagavad Gita, it is like, those who practice Krishna consciousness for some time, they are born into aristocratic family. And those who practice for the substantial time, they were born into Vaishnava and a devotee family. So, this...
Yeah, they may have practiced, they may have come from the higher planet. It doesn't mean that everyone has come from the higher planet. Some are going up and some are coming down. Some people come up. Some come up by their piety on this planet, and they come up from a lower position in the society to a higher position, given more material facilities, and they may be coming up from this earthly condition. Others may be coming down, as we heard about Bharadwaja, that he was taken by the Maruts, and then the Maruts gave him. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
Maharaj, question. Maharaj, in the verse 24 to 26, it's mentioned that Bharat Maharaj had imprints like on his palm, Krishna this, all that. So we know that only Krishna and his incarnation have monks or such. So is Bharat Maharaj incarnation, Maharaj?
Well, how is he described in the chapter?
No, it's not mentioned, Maharaj.
Isn't it mentioned that he's an expansion of an expansion?
It's a partial, Maharaj, partial.
Yeah, partial expansion, isn't it? Doesn't it say like that?
Okay, Maharaj.
Huh?
Yeah.
Did you find the reference? Did you find it?
Anybody can help me? Which purport?
No, you have to do a search.
Yeah, you can see it in the shloka number 19 translation. Shakuntala, the best of beautiful women, along with her son, whose strength was insurmountable and who was a partial expansion of the Supreme Godhead, approached her husband Dushmanta.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
19.
Okay. Yes, so he was certainly a great personality, and it's because of him this planet is known as Bharatvarsha.
Maharaj, another doubt, Maharaj, for me. Which Bharat, they call this all country Bharat Varsha. This Bharat or reciprocative son? Bharat, Maharaj. Which?
Well, they could be either. Could be both of them.
Of them.
Oh, your voice is not clear, Prabhu. Whoever is speaking, who is it? Bimala Prasad?
No, Maharaj, not me.
Not you. Somebody. I could hear some sound there. I thought somebody trying to say something. Anyway, it could be this Bharat. It could be also son of Rishabdev. I don't know exactly. I'd have to check on that.
Okay. Thank you, man.
Prabhupada doesn't refer to it here, that this Bharat was because of him the earth planet is called Bharatvarsh. In 5th canto, we'll check on that. Alright, so we're going on to the next chapter, 21, and we're hearing about the descendants from Bharat. And of course, first was Bharadwaja, and it said he got another name when he was delivered. His name became Vitata. And then his line, his descendants are famous. And we come to the two sons of Sankriti, Guru and Rantidev. It said Rantidev is famous in both this world and the next, for he is glorified not only in human society, but also in the society of the demigods. So certainly Rantidev must be a very great personality to have such a position, to be recognized both on the heavenly, on the earthly planet and in the society of the demigods. So the pastime is there about Rantidev. Well, first of all, we're told something about him, that he never endeavored to earn anything. Who else do we know who was like that, never endeavored to earn anything? Who was like that? You know anybody else?
Maharaj, can you please repeat the question?
I want to know who never endeavored to earn anything.
Maharaj Ambarisha?
Well, I don't know. Was that true? Of course, he was a king. He had his ministers. I don't
Maharaj, in Rantidev's pastime, it is there, he did not endeavor for anything, but he enjoyed the material opulence.
Did he enjoy the material opulence?
I mean, whatever he got by the will of providence, like that. But he...
But I was thinking that in Krishna Lila, there's someone who never endeavored to earn anything.
Sudama?
Who?
Sudama?
Sudama, yes, right. Sudama, the Brahmin. He never, he was always, he didn't like to get, he didn't like anything material. He was somewhat afraid of opulence. He liked to be poor. He liked to be poverty-stricken. And he would never ask anybody, although as a Brahmana he had the right to ask people for charity and to beg for charity, he would not do it. He didn't want to go and ask for charity. He would just wait. And if he was meant to get something, he would have something. You know anybody else like that?
Maharaj, Jada Bharata?
Kolaveka Sridhar, Maharaj?
Kolaveka Sridhar. Well, Kolaveka Sridhar, he had some business, he had his trees, a few banana trees, and he would sell some bananas here and there.
No, Maharaj Shivacharya. Shivasacharya. Shivasacharya. Shivas Pandit.
Oh, Srivas Pandit.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's there because when it said when Mahaprabhu asked what is the source of income and he simply claps 3 times. If I don't have anything to eat then.
Yeah. Srivas.
Right, yes, Srivas, he was,
Maharaj,
yes?
Jada Bharata?
Jad Bharata, yeah, Jad Bharat, okay.
Avanti Brahmana?
Avanti Brahmana, well, he would go begging. You know, he had a begging bowl, he would beg. People wouldn't be very nice to him.
Or that person whom Prahlad Maharaj meets, he was following like the python, no, whatever.
Dattatreya.
Avdut,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, yeah, that man who was, the one who was laying on the ground, yeah, taking the vow of a python, yes. I was thinking, yes?
Mrugari, on the instruction of Narad Muni, he did not endeavor for anything, Maharaj.
Mugrari, yeah, he just chanted the holy name and everything was provided, right? People would come to see him because a hunter, somebody's been a hunter and now he's chanting the holy name and worshipping Tulsi. So people would come to see him and bring him things. Yes, good. Also, Dhruva.
He was told not to beg even, no. Leaves. He was doing so much austerity. 5 years old.
Yeah, for 6 months he was there in the forest. He was just like, he was doing tapasya for 6 months. Also, I was thinking, that Madhavendra Puri, that Madhavendra Puri had come to Govardhan and he was sitting at the side of Govardhan and he had the custom, he wouldn't go and beg, he wouldn't ask people for food. He would just sit and Krishna would come and bring him food. Krishna would come. And similarly also B.V.V. Thakur, he was blind. He would sit and Krishna would come and bring food. He said, no one's allowed to go hungry here.
Maharaj, Haridas Thakur?
Rishabdev Maharaj.
Rishabdev, well...
He's a Supreme Lord.
Yeah, but maybe when he went into the forest, when he took Vanaprastha and retired, then maybe he's doing tapasya there.
Maharaj, Haridas Thakur is never ending anything.
Yeah,
Different,
Haridas Thakur just chanted the holy name. And Lord Chaitanya would come and bring prasadam to him. When he was in Puri, Lord Chaitanya would come and bring prasadam to him.
Yes.
He didn't have to ask anybody for anything. So that's a very nice mood to just fully depend on the Supreme Lord. And so Rantidev could do that. He didn't endeavor to earn anything. Of course, he was a king, so maybe he didn't need to endeavor. Everything would, maybe he would be living in the palace, maybe everything was there for his arrangement.
Krishna Balaram also. He didn't earn it.
Yeah, Krishna Balaram. Anyway, Rantidev, he whatever was arranged by providence, then he would accept that. But when guests came, he would give them everything. So of course, as a king, sometimes he would have to socialize and receive guests, and he would give them everything when guests would come. How did he do it? We don't know. Anyway, we're told he underwent considerable suffering along with the members of this family. And it said he and his family members shivered for want of food and water. My goodness, you'd get in trouble. You know, the child protection officer would come to you, right? For doing like that. Starving the family members, not feeding the children, making them fast, giving away all the food. But Ranti Dev always remained sober. So we're told specific pastime, how they'd been fasting for 48 days. How could they do it? We wonder, how could they do it? 48 days fasting. Anyway, somehow they were fasting 48 days. Maybe they were drinking some water. But it said in the morning, Ranti Dev received some water and some foodstuffs made with milk and ghee. But before they could break their fast, a Brahmana arrived. Right? So you get a Brahmana, when a Brahmana visits your home, then you have to offer your food. And we're told Ranti Dev's special condition. What's his vision? What kind of consciousness does he have when people come to him?
He sees the Supreme Lord within their heart. He sees them with equal vision, a Brahmana, a dog, an elephant, like that.
Right. Yeah, he sees the Lord in every living entity. So Prabhupada, in the purport, he points out elaborately that it doesn't mean that he sees everyone as God. Right? It's not that everyone is God. Although he sees God in their heart, it doesn't mean that everyone is God. So how can we understand this? How does he see every living entity?
Paramatma in their heart.
Yes, Paramatma in the heart, so are they God?
He sees everybody as a part and parcel of the Lord, qualitatively equal. But the Supreme Lord is quantitatively much greater than the tiny living entities.
Yes. One in quality, different in quantity, right? What are some examples?
Like ocean water, like that you're asking? Ocean is like Supreme Lord and drop of water is like the living entity.
Okay. Another one?
So, Prabhupada gives the examples of the... Sorry, Prabhuji.
Like a gold on a ring compared to a gold mine.
Yeah, gold mine.
Okay. Yeah, the gold mine and the gold ring, speck of gold. Or the fire and the spark from the fire. Living entities like one spark from the fire. So Ranti Dev, he could see the Lord in everyone. This is a very important vision, especially for a pujari, somebody worshipping the deity. You know, people worship the deity and they see the Lord in the deity, but they don't see the Lord in the heart of the people coming for the darshan of the deity. So that's not good. We have to see the Lord everywhere, that He's not only in the deity, but He's also in the hearts of the people who are coming to the temple. To see everyone in that way, very important. And Prabhupada talks how some people talk about Daridra Narayan, that the poor people are God. So are the poor people God? How would you deal with that if somebody says the poor people are all God? How are you going to answer that? Are the poor people all God?
Prabhupada says that we cannot say poor people are God because God can never be poor. he is the Lord of Mother Lakshmi. So we cannot say that the Lord is Daridra. And also he says that we can see that everybody, as we were just discussing, that everybody is a part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but we can never say that somebody who's poor is the Lord, because the Lord can never be poor. He's Shraddha Aishwarya Purna, so in every manner he is full of opulence.
Yes. Yeah, there was one pastime in the Chaitanya Charitamrita described how Advaita Acharya had one secretary named Kamalakanta Vishvasa. And this Kamalakanta, he wrote a message to the king of Puri. And in the message he said, Advaita Acharya is an incarnation of God, and he is in debt 300 rupees. So he was asking the king to pay the debt for Advaita Acharya. But Lord Chaitanya somehow got the note. It was given to him. And when Lord Chaitanya read the note, he said, yes, he said, it's certainly true, Advaita Acharya is an incarnation of God. That is correct. But, he said, it is very wrong, very offensive to say that he is in debt 300 rupees. You know, if he is God, how could he be in debt 300 rupees? Because he's Bhagwan. Bhagwan means one has all opulences. So if somebody is actually God, then they have all opulences. They're not poor. And if we say God is poor, then we could say the dog in the street is also God. And the pig is also God. You know, they're also poor, in a poor condition. Are they also God? Of course, it's ridiculous to say like that. And so we have to understand properly that God means the Supreme, he's Bhagavan, he's full of all opulences. The living entity is not God, but he's a tiny part of the Supreme Lord. Mami Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Right? We're eternally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. One in quality, different in quantity. So we do have a relationship with the Lord, but we're not God. We're meant to be servants. All right, so Ranti Dev, he did not accept this philosophy, Mayavadi philosophy. He understood that the Lord is in everyone's heart. All right? So the Brahmana comes, and so Brahmana comes to your home, you should receive them nicely, right? You're expected to give them some food. And Ranti Dev, he and his family were just about to break their fast when the Brahmana came. And Ranti Dev, immediately, he offers the Brahmana a share of the food. Right, so what happens after that? After the Brahmana comes and takes his food, then what happens? Someone?
Maharaj, only then what?
Huh? What happens after the Brahmana comes to the home?
Maharaj, only water was left with him, and that too was about to drink that water.
No, we're not there yet. After the Brahmana comes, then another person...
Then some dogs
No, before the dogs.
Rest of the food he divided into a family of member, and when he going to take the rest of the food, a Shudra arrived there.
After the Brahmana, then the Sudra comes, right? Yes, the Sudra comes. So, Brahmana comes to your home, you feel honored. Sudra comes to your home, how do you feel? We think, oh, this person, why he's come? What does he want? But the Sudra came, yeah, the Sudra came. Oh, where is it? The Sudra came, Rantidev and his family were about to eat. The Sudra came, so King Ranti gave the Sudra a share of the food. He did not make any distinction that, oh, he's a Sudra, he's not a Brahmana. He saw everyone the same. Whether they're a Brahmana or a Sudra, he sees them equally. He sees that Krishna's in the heart of everyone. He sees them equally. In the Sri Sampradaya, they've opened this temple there in Hyderabad. They call it the Statue of Equality. And they have a big statue of Ramanujacharya, because that was one of his main teachings, to see the equality in all people, to see all living entities equally. And devotional service is described like that. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakanchati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param. So you see all living entities equally. We don't think high class and low class. We don't think in that way. That's the bodily conception of life. We see everyone as a spirit soul, in different bodies, in different conditions. Somebody is suffering because of his past activities, and somebody else is enjoying because of his past activities. But everyone is a spirit soul, just in different conditions of life. So there's the rich person, Dani, and there's the poor person, Daridra. So the Sudra's poor. But he comes for food, and Rantidev gives him some food. And then after the Sudra goes, then another guest comes, surrounded by dogs, and says, "O king, I and my company of dogs are very hungry. Please give us something to eat." How would you feel? There's Rantidev, and they've been fasting for 48 days, and they're about to break their fast. And then people are coming, first the Brahmana, then the Sudra, and then the person with the dogs. What to do? So here, Rantidev, with great respect, offered the balance of the food to the dogs and the master of the dogs, who had come as guests. The king offered them all respects and obeisances. This is the mood of the surrendered devotee, that humility. Although he's a king, he's offering his food, which, my goodness, you could imagine, you've been fasting for 48 days, you're about to break fast, and then these incidents happen. But Rantidev accepts it all as the grace of the Lord. He offers them all respects and obeisances. He sees this is all Krishna's arrangement. And he's happy to do it, to give the food. He doesn't do it grudgingly. So very important. And then what's happened? Then he's left with only water, and not enough to satisfy even. There was only enough to satisfy one person. But when the king was about to drink it, a Chandala appeared and said, "O king, I am low-born, kindly give me some drinking water." And Maharaj Rantidev, hearing this poor Chandala speak, then Rantidev spoke the following words. And it said his words were like nectar. His words alone, by his words alone, the king could save the life of anyone who might hear him. So then there's this beautiful verse, this 21:12. He says, I do not pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the 8 perfections of mystic yoga, nor for salvation from repeated birth and death. I want only to stay among all the living entities and suffer all distresses on their behalf, so that they may be freed from suffering. So this is the mood of Ranti Dev. And who is the parallel in relation to this mood of Ranti Dev? Yes, Vasudev Datta, right? What does Vasudev Datta, how does he compare it? When he's asked, what's he asking Lord Chaitanya?
Let all the living entities live in front of you, and I will, if they can't go, I will take all their sinful reaction. I will stay back and suffer on their behalf.
Yes, let them all go. And does Lord Chaitanya agree?
Your this, I don't know. I think he says your something quality is piercing my heart, something like that.
Well, is Lord Chaitanya going to arrange for this?
No.
No, he said they're already delivered by your desire. Lord Chaitanya gave the example. He gave some examples. He said, just like if you have a bag of mustard seeds, right? You have a bag of mustard seeds and you lose one mustard seed. Is it a big loss? No, of course you've got so many seeds in the bag, right? So you lose. In the same way, if all the living entities in one universe are liberated, it's not a big affair for the Lord. It's one universe is just like one mustard seed among so many mustard seeds. And then Vasudeva Datta gives another, not Vasudeva, Lord Chaitanya gives another example. He said, you may have a herd of Kamadhenu cows. You have a herd of Kamadhenu cows, but you lose one billy goat. So when you lose one billy goat, are you going to worry about one billy goat? You've got a herd of Kamadhenu cows. Why should you care about one billy goat? And then he gives another example about this one tree which has many fruits. What's the name of that tree? There are many, many fruits on that tree. So many fruits. Anyway, I don't know the name. It's some Indian fruit, you know. They have there in
Bayan tree, Maharaj.
Huh?
Bayan tree. Bayan.
Is it?
Tree. Bayan.
Oh,
they have a small seed.
Okay, small seed. Anyway, he said if you lose one of these fruits, what's the loss? There's so many thousands of other fruits are there. Why will you worry about one fruit? So Lord Chaitanya said, just simply by Vasudeva Datta's desire, I have already liberated all the souls. By his desire. They're all gone. So this was Lord Chaitanya fulfilling the desire of Vasudeva Datta. And similarly, so Prabhupada describes the nature of a Vaishnava, right? What is the nature of a Vaishnava?
Paradukha dukhe.
Meaning?
He is unhappy when others are unhappy.
Right. Yes, you know, material world, we often see people, you know, we see other people suffering or unhappy, and, you know, we just think, look at them, poor soul. You know, we don't have a lot of compassion. We're often not very sympathetic to the suffering of others. But a Vaishnava actually should be. We should be concerned when we see other people suffering and difficulty. Then we should be concerned. We should think how to help them, how to deliver. So Vaishnava engages in activities for the benefit of others.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu?
A question. Maharaj, until this point, Kantideva's wife and children also were passing without eating anything, they?
Rantidev and who else?
His wife and children who were fasting with him.
Well,
they also didn't eat anything.
It seems to be like that. It seems to be told like that. It's not very clear. But it seems to be, yes, that they were also suffering and they were following their father.
Yeah.
Because he was the king and they were following him.
Yeah, like what you said, if you have done this in this age, definitely you will be under chala because
Yes. Yeah, if you don't feed your children, my goodness. You ask them, you know, if you ask them to fast on Ekadasi, oh, this is terrible. You're so how you can, yeah. Anyway, we can read more. Now, text number 13, Rantidev prays, by offering my water to maintain the life of this poor Chandala who is struggling to live, I have been freed from all hunger, thirst, fatigue, trembling of the body, moroseness, distress, lamentation and illusion. So this is the mood of great devotees, this Rantidev speaking like that. And the next text says Rantidev, he's on the verge of death because of thirst. He's on the verge of death, but he gave his own portion of water to the Chandala without hesitation, because the king was naturally very kind and sober. So this very, very unique quality to find a king like this, you know, just to find to find a Brahmana like this, to find anyone like this is very special, but very unusual to find somebody who's a king who's like this. It's very,
King Ambarisha fasted 1 year.
Well, yeah, he was fasting then was because Durvasa Muni had come there.
No, he was already fasting for 1 year, and then when Durvasa Muni came, another 1 year.
Oh, right. Yeah, but when Durvasa Muni came, then kept fasting. Yeah, he'd been fasting for Ekadasi, right?
2 years.
He was fasting for Ekadasi.
Ekadasi, not 1 day. He was doing this Ekadasi Brata for 1 year.
Okay.
That I don't know. Maybe only on Ekadasi days for 1 year, or the total 1 year.
We read for 3 days he used to fast for every Ekadasi or something like that.
But it's mentioned 1 year. He was doing this. He kept that brat for 1 year.
So every Ekadasi throughout the year, 3 days he used to fast.
yeah, that's why we learn that. Correct.
But when Durvasa Muni went up and down, that time he was fasting for 1 year.
Yeah, he was in the same position for 1 year.
Okay. Very good. So great souls. So then, after this incident, then these different personalities who have come there, they're revealed to be demigods. The demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, that they had taken the identity of these people who had come just to test Rantidev. They had presented themselves as the Brahmana and the Sudra and the Chandala and so on. So they'd come, they wanted to test, they wanted to see for themselves just how charitable, how much this king is willing to undergo for others, for the interests of others. Of course, Rantidev, he has no ambition to get any benediction from the demigods. Brahma and Shiva and other gods, they'd come there, they were testing him. He offered them obeisances, but he was actually attached to Lord Vishnu, to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He fixed his mind at Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. So that's interesting to note that Rantidev was not a worshipper of other gods. He simply worshipped the Supreme Lord, Lord Vasudeva, and he was attached to him. And he simply wanted pure devotion. So he was a real pure devotee. He didn't want anything. Other common people, if they have the opportunity to be confronted by Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, then probably they would have desire for some material blessings. But Rantideva had nothing in his mind like that. So that is pure devotion. That even though you have the opportunity to ask for something, to get some material blessing, you don't want it. So that is the mood of pure devotee. So Prabhupada quotes the definition given to us by Rupa Goswami, like that. Anya Bilasita Sunyam. Should worship Lord Krishna favorably, without desire for material profit or gain. That is pure devotional service. So Sukadeva Goswami describes Rantidev like that. He said he was a pure devotee, always Krishna conscious, and free from all material desires. The Lord's illusory energy, Maya, could not exhibit herself before him. On the contrary, for him, Maya entirely vanished, exactly like a dream. So because he's a pure devotee, because he's fixed in Krishna consciousness, he's not troubled by the Maya, by the material energy. It just doesn't bother him. Prabhupada said, I'm always in Vrindavan. I may be in New York, but I'm always in Vrindavan. I'm always thinking of Krishna. So where Prabhupada quotes the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where there is Krishna, there can be no Maya. Where there is sunlight, there is no darkness. So for the Krishna conscious person, there's no Maya. There's no material world. It's all the spiritual world. All right, so then the chapter continues talking about people following the principles of King Rantidev. King Rantidev set the standard, he set the example for others. And people followed the principles, they were totally favored by his mercy, and they became pure devotees. They became attached to the Lord. They all became the best of yogis. So this example, very important. You see, you have the good example from the kings, and then the other people will follow. That's why Lord Krishna chose the kings, to give them knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. He instructed this knowledge to the sun god Vivishwan, Vivishwan gave it to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku, Ikshvaku to the saintly kings. So that the saintly kings, they could teach to the common people, to their citizens, by their example. And Prabhupada talks in the purport, because Rantidev was the king, the chief executive in the state, and all the residents of the state became devotees of the Supreme Lord Narayan by the king's transcendental association. This is the influence of a pure devotee. So he said, if there's one pure devotee, you can make hundreds and thousands of other pure devotees. Prabhupada wrote like that in one letter. There was one devotee, a Chinese man in Hong Kong, the first Chinese devotee. He was from Hong Kong, and Prabhupada said about him, he said, just like in a forest, if you have one sandalwood tree in the forest, the whole forest becomes beautiful, because the aroma of the sandalwood will spread through the whole forest. Just one tree in the forest will have such an aroma that the whole forest will smell very pleasant. So he said, in the same way, he said, one Chinese person becoming a devotee, he said, it makes the whole nation of China very wonderful, very glorious. So Prabhupada was praising like that. He was praising that one man for becoming a devotee. One pure devotee, and then so many others will come from that, by his example, by his association. So we're told, Prabhupada quotes nice things about following the example, serving the Vaishnavas, opens the doors to liberation. Jadya Vaishnava Seva Naistara Payeche Keba. One cannot be liberated by his own efforts, but if one becomes subordinate to a pure Vaishnava, the door to liberation is open. So, very nice to get that example. Alright, so that's pretty much this chapter, 21. There's not a lot more in this chapter. We hear about other kings. There's one king called King Hasti. I said Hastinapur was named after him. King Hasti, from Hastinapur got the name. Hastinapur, now New Delhi. So this King Hasti had established the city of Hastinapur. And then we hear more examples about people born in Kshatriya families who became Brahmanas. And Prabhupada again stresses that birth is immaterial, the quality is essential. So there were many examples in the history of the world, many great souls. Some were born in Kshatriya families, they became Brahmanas. Some people came from Vaishya or Sudra family, but they could also become Brahmana. And they can also go the other way. Brahmanas may also become Sudras or Vaishyas. You see, Vaishyas, Brahmanas, they like to do business, they like to make money. And they're Vaishya, they're not Brahmanas, really. All right? So any questions on this chapter? Oh, there's one more thing told here in this chapter. 25 talks about Shuka Goswami. Shukadeva Goswami, Shuka Uvacha, right? In Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami. And so it's mentioned that there's two Shukadevs. So we're told the history about Shukadeva Goswami, that Vyasadeva maintained the daughter of Jabali as his wife. And they did penances together for many years. And after doing austerity for many, then he placed the seed in her womb, and the child born, well, the child stayed in the womb for 12 years. And the father asked the son to come out. The son replied he would not come out unless he was completely liberated from the influence of Maya. So Vyasadeva ensured the child he would not be influenced by Maya, but the child didn't believe the father because he saw his father was still attached to his wife and children. So Vyasadeva then went to Dwarka and told Krishna about the problem, and Krishna, at Vyasadeva's request, came to Vyasadeva's cottage, and he assured the child that he would not be influenced by Maya. So then the child came out from the womb, but immediately he left home. So this is Paribrajak Acharya. Just traveling, going out, leaving the home. So of course Vyas was very troubled that the boy was leaving home, the father was following him. So in order to get free from the father, it said Sukadeva Goswami created a duplicate Sukadeva. And that duplicate Sukadeva later entered family life. But the original Sukadeva, was a lifelong brahmachari. And the one who's mentioned in this verse, it's mentioned Shuka Kanya, the daughter of Shukadeva. That is the daughter of the duplicate or imitation Sukadeva. So we're told like this, that there are two Shukadevs. One is a lifelong brahmachari who spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, and the other one is who was given back to Vyasadeva. So, interesting information given here. All right.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes?
I have one doubt, Maharaj. Here is Sukadeva Goswami in the womb of mother is 12 years. Some place they say 16 years. Which is correct, Maharaj? I also doubt with. Here you mentioned 12 years in the womb. Prabhupada said. Which is true, Maharaj? I was confused.
Well, it's not a big difference, is it?
12 years.
12 years, 15 years, you know. Sometimes these informations, these things change.
And sometimes we give any knowledge, people will asking, the devotee mostly asking.
So you can be careful, you can avoid using any detail, you just tell them he was in the womb for several years.
Yes.
Thank you for that. And then you avoid the controversy, right?
Yes, yes.
But if you give some specific information, someone will question how is it like this and like that? It should be different. You get these things coming up now and again. It's difficult. You have to be down. You have to be cautious about it.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj, in Canto 5, where we talk about the other Bharata Maharaj, there Prabhupada is telling in the summary of chapter 7 of Canto 5 that formerly this planet was known as Ajanabha, and after the reign of Bharata Maharaj, it became known as Bharatavarsha.
Okay. So you're saying that it's because of Bharat, who is the son of Rishabdev.
Rishabdev.
Yes, that's what Prabhupada is saying in 5th canto.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay. Okay, any other points on this? Okay, then we'll take a break. We'll come back and we can go on to the next chapter. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Recording stopped.
Hare Krishna.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back. So before we go on to that next chapter, I think it would be important for us to just discuss about this mood which the kings had in taking that role in leading their country and ruling their empire. You have kings like Ranti Dev and the type of example which he set. You know, is this actually really fitting for the mood of a Kshatriya? But generally, the qualities of the Kshatriya, as they're described in the Bhagavad Gita, that they're courageous, and they have that Ishvara Bhav, they have that controlling potency. So here you have Ranti Dev, and he's fasting, and he's weak, and is this really the mood of a Kshatriya?
No, Maharaj. It's Brahmana mood.
It's more like a Brahmana.
Yes.
So he shouldn't be the king then, should he? He should give up the throne and let somebody else be the king. And is it, what do you think? He's a king. And the country needs a king. Is he not?
Marriage, but a king is also supposed to respect Brahmanas. So King Rantideva is doing that. And he's also seeing everybody as equal. So he's giving respect to everybody, irrespective of where they come from. So that is also a good quality for a king.
Yeah, is that also right? That he sees everybody equally? He sees everyone as a part and parcel of the Lord? Isn't he supposed to give more respect to the Brahmanas? Isn't it that, we hear about the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, serve the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas. Are you supposed to serve also the Sudras and the Chandalas?
Yes, Maharaj. Being a devotee of the Lord, it does not mean that as a king he is doing his duty, but at the same time, as a devotee, he knows, he's giving everybody the due respect.
But my point is, are these people really worthy of respect?
The due respect.
Huh?
The due respect he is giving, so as the Lord is sitting in everybody's heart as Paramatma.
Yes, the Lord is in everyone's heart. I know that, but it doesn't mean that we have to be equally dealing with everybody. Is it proper to see everyone on the same level? And aren't we supposed to see, for example, the Kshatriyas, the kings, they're representatives of God. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, among men, I am the monarch. So the monarch is a representative of Krishna. The Kshatriya, the king, is a representative of Krishna. So, yeah, the Brahmanas also, Krishna says, Namo Brahmana Devaya. He's offering his respects to the cows and the Brahmanas. Aren't we supposed to give more respect to the cows and the Brahmana? And here's Ranti Devi's giving his remnants to, he's feeding the dogs.
But he is Samadarshi. He is Brahmabhuta platform.
Maharaj, it is said that you have to take care of everybody, including the animals, So, as a king, he is responsible not only for the human beings, but even the animals are also considered as his citizens, So it's his duty to take care of everyone. So when the dog is coming and He's just taking care of the dogs. I mean, due respect he's giving, or duly he's taking care of what is required and necessary.
Well, we don't even let dogs in the temple.
But Radhadeva is exhibiting the Pandita Samadarshana principle here. He's seeing everybody as a soul, and he's seeing God in everybody.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I have one small point here. Actually, Srila Prabhupada wants this Brahmanical culture to be developed. Brahmanical culture in the sense that you can carry on and performing your the responsibilities as a king or a Vaishya or whatever is your responsibility. But at the same time, internally, you should create a culture of a Brahmana. So here Rantideva is performing in such a king, in such a way that he is a king and he has all the qualities of a king as well as he has the qualities of a Brahmana, being a devotee of the Lord. He has the qualities of a Brahmana. And it's rightly Srila Prabhupada mentioned in that purport that Pandita Samadarshinaha, he sees everything equally. But at the same time, though he sees everything equally, the treatment towards them will be different. As you already, as Maharaj said, that we will not let the dog inside the temple. So dealing would be different, but approach or seeing them as the part and parcel of the Lord within their heart will be different.
Mm-hmm. Yes, certainly the dog is also in the heart. That the Lord is also in the heart of the dog, right? And so we see them also as spirit souls, but of course we can't deal with everyone the same way. I mean, that would be madness. You know, you embrace the devotee, you can embrace the Brahmana, or you can bow to the Brahmana, but you don't bow to the dogs.
And Maharaj Prabhupada also used an example of that you can embrace a Brahmana or a devotee, but you can't embrace a tiger. The Lord is also in the tiger. Prabhupada used to give this example. And here also we see that Rantidev does not let the dog inside. Like, he's serving them, fine, but not like going down before the dogs. Whereas he's giving due respect to the Brahmana and serving them appropriately as per their, serving everybody as per the rules and regulations or as per the scriptures we can see here.
Yeah, and it's certainly convenient that the Brahmana came first. The Brahmana came first, so he could take the food first. What if he'd come last? You know, what would they have done with the Brahmana? The Brahmana comes first, so they could give him some of the food. And then the Sudra, and then finally you got the Chandala and the dogs. Okay, they came last. But what if they'd come first and the Brahmana came last? What would happen then?
So Maharaj, we can understand like Prabhupada says, maybe it was providence that Brahmana came earlier. Maybe it was all Lord's arrangement.
If that is Lord's prasadam, then does it make any difference? Even if it's taken by a Chandala, so that can be always pure. So if the Brahmana who comes later, if he is enough intelligent and if he's having enough knowledge of a real Brahmana, as a devotee Brahmana, then he will not mind. Otherwise, if it's a so-called Brahmana, then definitely he will mind, he will not take the remnant of a Chandala. But if it's a Pandita, as it is said, then definitely as a remnant of the Lord, I mean, it's a prasada, it should definitely always should be revered and should be accepted as it is.
So, even the Brahmana comes last, he's supposed to take the remnants. Even
No, Maharaj.
Being a prasadam, I think it's not contaminated, right? At any cause, any time. And like in Jagannath Puri, that is what is maintained, that if it's same leaf is used for different people, so then it doesn't matter that who was taken.
Like Jagannath Baba did with the dog. That is a different mood. Deer is Maharaj, that is a different mood.
Like if it's a real Brahmana, doesn't make difference. But if it's a so-called Brahmana, then definitely makes it like
a Brahmana is supposed to go to beg in a Grahasta's house when they already have eaten everything. Then he will go. And if something is left, then he will be, a sannyasi. And then Brahmana, if he comes late, then he'll take water only. What is it? And this was already planned by Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. See that this was a planned thing. So,
yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj. According to this, Brahmana should be served first. I went to Vrindavan on a wedding for the Tulsi Maharani, the Dinabandhu Prabhu. He said, it's grace. The Brahmana should serve first. Brahmana should serve first. You have to honor the Brahmana first.
If he is available, then definitely he should be served first. But in this case, he came after one after another. Here it came one after another. So then what we'll do? If the Brahmana is not available, then the one first come is served first. So Maharaj is asking, in case if Chandala came first and Brahmana came later, what will do? How the Brahmana will accept it? This is what Maharaj's question. So if both are available, definitely Brahmana will be served first. No doubt on that. But if come one after another and Brahmana comes later, then he has to satisfy with whatever is available. I mean, if it's a proper Brahmana, if it's a proper understanding, if he has, then this is my understanding even that even Srila Prabhupada also said, always the prasadam should be revered. I mean, whoever is taken. But of course, even as per the sattvic, the definition of the sattvic food, it is mentioned that the remnant is not considered as of course, its prasadam is above all the three gunas. So the remnant is not considered as a sattvic guna, but since prasadam is above all the three modes, then that should be accepted.
Maharaj, if all of them came together, then he should have given respect first to the Brahmana. But if the Brahmana didn't come first and if the others came, then he don't even know whether the Brahmana is going to come or not. So he just can't keep waiting thinking the Brahmana will come. So whoever comes first, then first he has to honor them.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Maharaj, there's one devotee, he told a wonderful pastime about how prasad will never get contaminated. He said once during the pastime of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, there was a feast. And there was one pail of prasad. So they was about to serve to all the devotees. But unfortunately, there was one dog who came and ate from the pail. And all the devotees refused to take. And Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, he took one palm from the pail and ate. And then he served all the devotees.
Oh. My goodness. Prasadam cannot be contaminated, eh?
Yeah.
But still, we like to have a pure atmosphere. Yeah. We say prasadam cannot be contaminated, but yeah, no. You know, we had the incident before. There was the incident before it took place. It was in Juhu, you know, in the Juhu temple, just after Prabhupada left, you know, and it was Kirtanananda was coming, and he had brought some dogs with him, and they would feed the dogs some ice cream. And then he would tell the devotees, you know, you should take the remnants. He said, these dogs are devotees. So it was unusual. Yeah. He wanted that consciousness, you know. But it's difficult to, you know, how much we want to apply that standard. That prasadam cannot be contaminated. Now, Prabhupada says also, of course, in Bhagavad Gita, he said prasadam cannot be contaminated. So usually you take food, you shouldn't take food which has been sitting around for too long, but any more than 3 hours or something, then it's considered stale or something. But he said prasadam is different. Prasadam cannot be contaminated. So it's quite an extreme situation to expect people to apply to that standard.
Yes. Similarly, Maharaj, what about the qualities what you're discussing that of Rantidev had, that is having a Brahmanical qualities, I mean the soft soberness and seeing equality. So then being a Kshatriya, what is your discussion on that? Because as Srila Prabhupada said, he wanted to develop the culture of a Brahmana, Brahmanical culture he wanted to develop. So even the previous one of the session, I was telling you about the same matter that in one of the class I heard in Mayapur that he was quoting the example of Srila Prabhupada's father. Srila Prabhupada's father was a Vaishya by profession. He was a merchant in the market. But when he comes at home, he is a pure Brahmana. He was living like a Brahmana. So that is what the Brahmanical culture Srila Prabhupada was expecting us to cultivate. So similarly, if you see in that context, they was performing in that way, that he has all the qualities of a Kshatriya, he is a king, as well as at the same time he has the qualities of a Brahmana within his heart. That's why he could see everybody equally.
Yes, that's true. Maharaj Prithu is also like that, was described like that he was a Kshatriya, he was a king, but at the same time he was a Brahmana. He was on the topmost level of consciousness. If one is a Vaishnava is transcendental. So he can perform duties in any of the particular varnas and ashrams because he's transcendentally situated. So that's why Vishwamitra could come and do the work of a Brahmana, and you have Parasurama, he could come down and do the work of a Kshatriya, because they were transcendentally situated. They could do that. So, anyway, it's certainly something we need to think about, how much we're willing to apply that principle to see everybody equally and to think of everything equal and to take the prasadam of the dogs, Yeah, some people could do it. Take the prasadam with the dogs, the puppies. Feed the dogs is one thing. Feed the dogs, give them food, and that's one thing. But to eat the remnants of the dogs, that's another thing. Feed the dogs. Jagannath Das Babaji could do that, He'd feed the dogs of the Dham, get all the dogs, come and feed them. But we don't hear that he was eating the remnants of the dogs. I don't know so much about that. Anyway, Rantidev also, he was happy to feed others. The situation didn't arise where he had to eat the remnants of dogs, but he was happy to feed the dogs, to give them something. That consciousness is there, that caring for the other living entities, the well-wisher. Yeah, we know if we give the dogs prasadam, it's very good for the dogs. And if the dogs leave the food, if they don't take the prasadam, then we should honor it ourselves, right? Something... Okay, so those were just some thoughts. Let's go on to chapter 22, because we have till 23, 24 also to finish, and we just have a couple of days more after today. All right, so we're going to read this chapter. There's not a lot in it, actually. 22, it's a lot of different names of different kings. Again, coming in the line of the sun, the moon god, coming from Chandra dynasty. So Sukadeva Goswami is describing about these different kings. Text 2 says, Somaka had 100 sons, of whom the youngest was Preshata. From Preshata was born King Drupada, who was opulent in all supremacy. Then from Maharaj Drupada, Drupadi was born. Maharaj Drupada also had many sons, headed by Drishtadyumna. From Drishtadyumna came a son named Drishtaketu. All these personalities are known as descendants of Brahmayasva, or the dynasty of Panchala. So famous names, Maharaj Drupada, of course he was the class friend of Drona. Drupada and Drona had gone together to Gurukula, and they were friends while they were in the Gurukula. And it is said Maharaj Drupada had told Drona that I'm your friend, if you ever need any help, I'll be happy to help you. And so it happened after they'd both left the Gurukula and entered in their family life. Drupada was a king and Drona was a Brahmin, Dronacharya. And so Drona had no money, was not getting any income, and he had a son, and he could not provide anything. And they were so poor that some other boys, they tricked his son, and they gave his son some chalk water, some water which was full of the dust of chalk. And they told him, this is milk. So the son of Drona, he drank that water thinking it was milk. So the father was very upset. He felt very bad that his son has not got, that Drona thought, I have no money to properly care for my son. So he thought, let me go to Drupada and he will help me. But when he went to Maharaj Drupada said, how can I be your friend? You are poor. Friendship is only possible between equals. And Drupada rejected Drona because he said, I cannot make friendship with you. You're just some poor Brahmana. I am a king. I have wealth, I have power. You have nothing. So Drona was sent away without any support. So then Drona went to Hastinapur and he became the guru there. And he became the military teacher to the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And he taught all the young men there how to use the different weapons and how to fight. He trained them all in the military arts. And then after they were trained up, then Drona told them, now you should give me Guru Dakshin. I want you to go and arrest Drupada. You go and attack his kingdom and defeat his army, then bring Drupada here. And so the Kauravas went first, but the Kauravas were not able to defeat Maharaj Drupada. And so then Dronacharya told the Pandavas to go. So the Pandavas went and they defeated Drupada and they brought him and placed him at the feet of Dronacharya. So Dronacharya then said, I will only take half of your kingdom. I won't take it all. So I'll take half of your kingdom. So he took away half the kingdom and then he sent Drupada away. But Drupada was bitter because he'd lost half of his kingdom. He'd been humiliated. So Drupada did a great sacrifice and he wanted a son who would be responsible for killing Drona. So he did a great yagya, and from the yagya, he got this son, Drishtadyumna. And at the same time also, Draupadi also took birth at that time. So Draupadi also came from the fire. She was not the ordinary woman, but she was actually from the higher planets. She was like from the king, from the demigods. She'd come. And Drishtadyumna, as the son, he was sent to the ashram of Drona. And he was sent there to learn how to fight and how to be a good Kshatriya. So Drishtadyumna, although he was the son of Drupada and he was born to kill Drona, he was sent to Drona to become his student. So Drona did not mind. He knew this boy is born to kill me. But anyway, he thought, I'm a Brahmana, I should teach him. So Drona accepted this Drishtadyumna as his student, and he taught him everything. So you see in the Bhagavad Gita also, in the first chapter, Duryodhana is telling Drona. Duryodhana is telling Drona, he said, look at the army so expertly arranged by your student. And the army was arranged, the army of the Pandavas was arranged by Drishtadyumna. And Drishtadyumna had been the student of Drona. So Duryodhana was pointing out to Drona that look, this army over there, they're expertly arranged by your student, Drishtadyumna, and he's born to kill you. So he was warning Drona, you have to be very careful that this man Drishtadyumna, he's born to kill you. You're going to go out there and fight in the battle, and this man is born to kill you, so you have to be very careful. So this was the intrigues. And of course the whole battle of Kurukshetra was brought about by Draupadi, because she was insulted by the Kauravas, her chastity was challenged. Draupadi was taken by Arjuna as his wife at the archery contest. Arjuna could pierce a fish. No one else could pierce it. Well, they could have, but Draupadi didn't let other people like Karna. Karna could have done it, but she didn't want Karna. So she said, only people of a high caste can take part in this contest. So Draupadi had that right as a young woman, very attractive, very good qualities. She had the right to choose who could take part in the competition to win her hand. And she didn't want people like Karna taking part. So Arjuna won the contest and he got Draupadi for the wife. But then they ended up sharing, the Pandavas had to share her because, well, one reason was because of Kunti, that Arjuna told Kunti that, Mother, I've won a prize. So Kunti immediately said, whatever you've won, you must share it with your brothers. So she didn't know that Arjuna had won the hand of a young woman. And when she saw it was a young woman, then it was a shock to everyone. But anyway, everyone agreed that this is the will of Providence and we should all marry Draupadi. So Draupadi was married to them, but of course it brought a lot of criticism, and the Kauravas tried to disgrace her, they tried to make her naked. And one incident after another, they sent them to exile, and 1 year incognito, and then still they didn't want to give any land to the Pandavas. So they had to have war. So the person who was responsible for that war, you could say, was Draupadi. She was the main instigator behind it because they had insulted her so badly. Bhima had vowed to kill all the sons of Dhritarashtra, and Bhima had vowed he would kill also that, he would rip out the heart of the person who untied the hair of Draupadi, and he vowed also he would break the thigh of Duryodhana, because Duryodhana was saying to Draupadi, you should sit here on my lap. Bhima said, I will break that thigh. So Bhima had made these terrible vows, and he kept them. By the battle of Kurukshetra, he was able to meet all of his different vows which he made. So it was the whole Kurukshetra war was arranged. You could say the cause of it was Draupadi. And Drupada, you could say even the cause of it was Drupada, because he was upset because of his battle with Drona. Alright, so anyway, these people are all born. Then so many others. We're told about King Kuru. He was the king of Kurukshetra. So the king of Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra was a very big place, a very huge field. You can understand from the battle of Kurukshetra, so many people were coming, so it was a very huge area. It's much smaller today, but still, great lakes are there. So then we hear about the names of more kings, different dynasties. Let's see. Text number 8 says, through the womb of another wife, Brihadrata begot 2 halves of a son. When the mother saw those 2 halves, she rejected them. But later, a she-demon named Jara playfully joined them and said, come to life, come to life. Thus a son named Jarasandha was born. So Jarasandha was one of the very powerful kings, one of the demons, right? He was on the side of the demons, Jarasandha. And when Maharaj Yudhisthira wanted to perform the Rajasuya Yajna, he had to first of all get submission from all of the kings. And the first king they had to approach was Jarasandha, because they knew he was never going to accept submission to Maharaj Yudhisthira. Jarasandha was very, very powerful. And at the same time, he liked to follow Vedic culture. He liked to give charity to Brahmanas. His daughters were all married to Kamsa. He'd given all his daughters to Kamsa as wives. And Jarasandha, of course, he was the one he attacked. He attacked Mathura 17 times. Lord Krishna defeated him every time. Then finally, to get rid of Jarasandha, because Maharaj Yudhisthira wants to do the yajna, Lord Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima disguise themselves as Brahmanas, and they go to Jarasandha to beg charity. And they're dressed up as Brahmanas, and Jarasandha likes to give charity to Brahmanas. But when he saw these Brahmanas, he was puzzled. He was surprised. He thought, how could these people be Brahmanas? They're so strong. And they have voices like thunder. Because one of the qualities of a Kshatriya, Ishvara Bhav, They have that controlling power. So when Bhima and people like Bhima and Arjuna, when they would speak with so much authority. Very powerful. So Jarasandha could understand that these people are not like Brahmanas. Brahmanas' quality is described in Bhagavad Gita. One of the ways in which a Brahmana is described is Vidya Vinaya. Vidya Vinaya Sampani Brahmani Gavihastini. Vidya Vinaya means learned and gentle. And here you have Bhim and Arjuna and Lord Krishna, and they've come to see Jarasandha. They're not very gentle. Anyway, Jarasandha understands they want some charity, and so he asks them, what do you want? What charity do you want? And then they revealed their identity and said, we want a fight with you. We want to fight you. But Jarasandha said to Krishna, he said, I'm not going to fight you. He said, you ran away from the battle last time I fought you. Although Krishna had defeated Jarasandha many times, but still, at one point, Lord Krishna had to leave the battlefield because another enemy was coming. Kala Yavna was coming, so Lord Krishna had to leave Lord Krishna got the name Ranchor. And we have that nice temple there in Gujarat, the Ranchor Krishna temple. So Krishna left the battlefield. So Jarasandha said, I'm not going to fight you because you're a coward. You ran away from the battle. And then he said to Arjuna, he said, you're weak. You're a weakling. You're not strong enough for me. You won't give me a good fight. So you can understand something of the nature of Jarasandha, that although he's a demon, but still he has that Kshatriya mood, that he doesn't want to take advantage to fight somebody who is an easy victim for him. He wants to fight someone who will give him a good battle. And so he says to Bhima, he said, I will fight you. He said, you look like you could give me a nice fight. And so the two of them, they went out and they fought for many days. Was it 27 days or something they fought? And finally, Lord Krishna gave the hint to Bhima about how to defeat Jarasandha, breaking a twig down the middle. And he showed to Lord Krishna, Lord Krishna showed, he said, you see, this man, he was joined by the witch Jara. He was originally in two halves, but the witch Jara had joined him together. So he said, now you could just rip him apart. And so Bhima understood. He went out there and one foot, he held down the foot of Jarasandha, and the other hands, he used his hands to rip him right down the middle, and he ripped his body into two halves. And he threw the two halves far away from each other in opposite directions, so that they couldn't join back together. So in this way, Jarasandha was defeated, killed. And Maharaj Yudhisthira could go on and do the Rajasuya Yagna. And they gave the throne. Jarasandha's son was there, and he became the king after Jarasandha. And you can see from him, next, it sounds like that. From Jarasandha came a son named Sahadev. And then from Sahadev, Somapi Shrutashrava, the son of Kunti called Parikshi, had no son. Son of Kuru called Parikshi had no son, but the son of Kuru called Janu had a son named Surata. All right, so then different sons, even Radhika, Ayutayu. Different names are mentioned. Then we come to Maharaj Santanu. Santanu was the king. Maharaj Santanu, he went to the forest, or the elder brother of Maharaj Santanu went to the forest, so Santanu became the king. Santanu was, in his previous birth, was Mahabisha. He had the ability to transform anyone from old age to youth, simply by touching that person with his hands. You could understand someone like that, with that kind of power, would be in great demand. Sometimes you get these mystics, they have that kind of power. And some of us, I remember some years ago, there were some devotees who were really sick, and they were going trying to see these different mystics. They have, in different places, different parts of the world, you've got mystics. Some of them, they can help to cure diseases. And so here, this person, this Santanu, we're told that he could transform anyone from old age to youth just by touching with his hands. So certainly, because the king could do that, he could make everyone happy, because he would make them young. They could have more sense gratification. Young people enjoy more by the touch of the hands. So once it happened, there was no rainfall in the kingdom for 12 years, and the king consulted his learned Brahminical advisors. They said, "You are faulty for enjoying the property of your older brother, your elder brother. For the elevation of your kingdom and home, you should return the kingdom to him." And Prabhupada writes in the purport, "You cannot enjoy sovereignty or perform an Agnihotri Yajna in the presence of one's elder brother, or else one becomes an usurper, known as Pariveta." So you cannot become the king if your older brother is there. If your older brother's still alive, you cannot become the king. Of course, there were exceptions. There were some exceptions, just like we heard about Puru, that Puru was the youngest son, and Yayati made him the emperor. He made him the king, even though he had older brothers, because Yayati had proved his qualification. He proved his power and his faithfulness to the order of the father. So the father entrusted him to become the emperor. But usually, the usual system is the eldest brother should be the king. And similarly, an Agnihotri Yajna should not do in the presence of your elder brother. So this is some interesting etiquette which we're not so much aware about. So anyway, Maharaj Santanu was told like this. He went to the forest and he requested his brother to take charge of the kingdom. But there was some intrigue there. One of the other brahmanas that instigated this elder brother of Santanu, they encouraged him to break the etiquette of the Vedas. And in this way he would become unfit to be the ruler. So because the brahmanas deviated this elder brother from the path of the Vedic principles, they asked Santanu to take the post of the ruler. So Santanu again became the king, and Indra was pleased and he showered rain. And we're told the elder brother, he's still alive in a village somewhere, and he's controlling his mind, doing mystic yoga. And just like now is the Kumbh Mela going on, millions of people are there at Kumbh Mela, and some of these mystic yogis, they come. Once every 12 years, they come down from the Himalayas. They're living in some remote village somewhere. Nobody knows who they are. And they can be hundreds of years old and even older, because, I mean, these people, this is people from previous yugas. They're still living. So we do have some Amaras there. And at Kumbh Mela time, often they will come because they're aware of the auspicious days, and they will come down to take bath at that time. Now, of course, so many millions are there taking bath, going there. You cannot identify who they are. They can look like young men. They can be hundreds of years old. So then, the dynasty of the moon god comes to an end in this age of Kali. And then in the next Satya Yuga, will begin again. So Maharaj Santanu, one of his wives was called Ganga. She was Ganga, the Ganga personified. And from her, Bhishma was born, the exalted, self-realized devotee and learned scholar, Bhishma. So Maharaj Santanu was married to Ganga by the mercy of well, it was Ganga herself came, right? She came and she had relationships with Santanu, and they had a number of children, but Ganga would throw them into the river when they were born. And she told her husband, don't try to stop me. So she was taking the children, every time she would give birth to a child, she'd go and throw it in the Ganga, because there were some yogis who'd been cursed. They had curses on them, and so she wanted to deliver them from the curse. So she came and she married Santanu, and she gave birth to children, and these children were the yogis who had been cursed. And then by throwing them in the Ganga, then they could finish that curse and go back to the heavenly planets again. So finally the youngest, they were the Vasus, right? And Bhishma was, when it came to this Bhishma, then Maharaj Santanu could not tolerate anymore, because he'd seen Ganga throw the children into the river Ganga. So when the final child came, Maharaj Santanu wanted to keep it. And so then Ganga left, and he was left with Bhishma. That child grew up to be Bhishma, and Bhishma was one of the Vasus. He had taken that birth. So if Maharaj Santanu had allowed Ganga to throw the child into the Ganga, then he could have been liberated and gone back to his heavenly abode. But instead he had to become Bhishma, and he had to take birth in the family, the Yadus, or whatever, the Kurus. And then we're told about Bhishma, how he defeated Lord Parashuram in a fight. Right? Bhishma was the foremost of all warriors. He defeated Parashuram. What happened, right? You know the story? It's told here in this chapter about different daughters, 3 daughters who'd been taken by grandfather Bhishma. Bhishma had taken them to be the wives of Vichitravirya. So one of them wanted to marry Bhishma. But Bhishma said, I've taken a vow of brahmachari, I cannot marry you. So she went to Parasaram. Parasaram was the guru of Bhishma Dev. And Parasaram said, I will talk to him, I will tell him to marry you. And so Bhishma, when Parasaram said to Bhishma, you should marry this girl, Bhishma refused. So then Lord Parasaram said, if you're not going to follow my order, then you have to fight me and show me that you're worthy of not following my order. So the two of them had a great fight, and Parasurama could not defeat Bhishma Dev. Although Parasurama is the incarnation of God and he's so powerful, he could not defeat Bhishma Dev in battle. And so Bhishma Dev kept his position as brahmachari, and Parasurama told the woman, I'm sorry, I couldn't do anything, can't help you. So that woman, what did she do? Right? What did she do to get revenge on Bhishma?
She went to Lord Shiva.
Yes, and what did she do?
She committed suicide, Maharaj, and then born as Sikandi, son of Drupa.
She was born as who?
Sikandi.
Yes. And then what happened?
She's the one who will be responsible for the death of Bhishma during the battlefield of Kurukshetra.
Yes.
So Bhishma refused to fight with women. So Bhishma accepted Sikandi as Amba. So he refused to fight. That's why Arjuna released the arrow. So,
why did he refuse to fight?
Because he considered Sikandi as woman, as Amba.
Yes. And Bhishma doesn't want to fight a woman, right?
Yes.
Doesn't consider fighting a woman to be very good. He's very, very strict according to religious principles. So whenever Sukandi would come, then Bhishma would stop fighting. And at that time, then what happened?
Arjuna released the arrow.
Yeah, they filled his body with arrows, right? And he fell down. Okay. So it said Parasaram was defeated, but he was pleased with Bhishma. He was pleased with Bhishma, that Bhishma was such a good fighter. He was able, that Parasurama could not defeat him.
I heard Maharaj, Hare Krishna Maharaj, I heard this Bhishma Dev, even King Indra also cannot defeat him in this universe. He's a very powerful person. That's why Krishna make arrangement to do. He's also devotee of Krishna. But in the arrangement, you want to show the power Krishna give Arjun to win this battle.